Emotions also play a very important role in our daily living, as we already saw. It has been, though we know about it, emotional states, what have been identified as something important in everyday life, which have been described in this particular scientific publication, are happiness, sadness, anger, fear, love, disgust, anxiety, etc. So we all go through this on a day-to-day basis, not just once in a while. And at the same time, it is said that fear and anxiety are the most important aspects of emotions, which actually helps an individual or an organism to prepare themselves for a potential source of danger. So, as we said, this also includes a range of physical processes in the body. We all heard about stress response, right? So whenever I am under stress, so my body responds, many chemicals, many hormones are secreted in my body. So if you don't allow the body to come back to normalcy, that subsequently continues, and that can create range of health issues in an individual. Today, all the non-communicable diseases are somewhere connected with stress and lifestyle. So fear and anxiety actually help us to prepare. Once we are prepared and we can handle a situation well, and then we allow our physical and mental entities to come back to their baseline and normalcy, then life goes very smoothly. It is also said that as we were looking at the Bhagavad Gita description, all emotions are born of desires. The desire is also not just to achieve something, not just to acquire or get something, but it is also caused by a feeling of imperfection. Imperfection is not necessarily a sort of a feeling of not having something, but it is also telling that in comparison to someone else, so I am not perfect, I don't have certain things. So I want to achieve that, for which I need to work. So the desire starts from there. Imperfection or fulfillment is also a feeling which is coming from within. So the stronger the desire, stronger the emotional experience what each one of us are going to have. We all know it very well that when desires are not fulfilled, it results in anger, and we start envying people who already have that. For example, everyone wants to attain certain things in their lives. You want to have all that what you see, be it a building, be it a whatever interiors you want to have in your house, and whatever you see outside, like a mobile phone to a car to all that what appears to be something wonderful in the material life. But when I am not able to fulfill that, one way I get angry on myself, and second thing, I start having a feeling of jealousy on others who are able to afford to get them. It also results in dissatisfaction. So our biggest problem is we have to be contented, is what we talk in yoga. But most of the time when desire is not fulfilled, it results in dissatisfaction. And the whole process of suffering starts from there. Because it is very well said in one of the Upanishads that the whole purpose of life is sukha prapti or dukkha nivrutti. So what we say is everything what we do in our life, it is to be comfortable or to reach a stage of happiness or dukkha nivrutti. So we do all that to avoid or prevent misery. So when we say that when something is not achievable, then the other side of the coin turns up and suffering starts from there. We feel that when desire is fulfilled, the end product is happiness and success. It's not always true, because when desire is fulfilled, it takes you to the other level to test you. Number one, is that it's not going to end there. Okay, so when I'm having an Android phone, I have a desire that I want to get an iPhone. So, okay, you got an iPhone 10, and now iPhone is, the Apple company is very quick in producing the new versions. So Apple 11, 12, 13 has come already. So then you always feel that, okay, I have to upgrade myself. I have to move forward. I have to get more and more. To go to one to the other, you need more money. You need more affluence. So you think that we can proceed in a way, the way it is needed, only by satisfying our greed. And at times, it is not going to end there. We end up having arrogant. Okay, so for example, I feel that I have something better than the other person, that brings in arrogance. And also at times it brings in a madness. Okay, like I start showing up, and I have the feeling of not caring anybody else. So lots of other feelings also emerge. And finally, something what I was talking about, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, that is the key factor. We might achieve whatever we want in our life. Our emotions can play again and again. The biggest problem comes in that phase where you have that fear of losing something that you already possess. Okay, so this leads to that intellectual discrimination and emotional and psychological distress. So the whole journey happens, and we always end up moving from a very well contented human being to a completely discontented and completely lost human being. So having looked at multiple philosophical components, various scientific evidences, we let us come down a bit to the physical being, because that's what neuroscience looks at all the emotions as, because it is believed that each emotion has got a placement in your brain. So there's a clear understanding of emotions can regulate. Your brain can regulate your emotions. So there are specific areas in the brain which can regulate each one of those important emotions. And also there are specific chemicals which can induce the process of initiating an emotional activity. So this, I'm not going to the detail, but just for your information, that there are specific areas in the brain. Generally, if you believe this, these are the two parts almost in the central part of your brain, which is also called as an emotional cortex. Okay, limbic system. Many areas within that limbic system control and regulate your emotions. And not just that limbic system, there are several other parts of the brain also contribute either for the initiation or for further regulation of your emotions. What you see here, the emotion fear is identified at this part of the brain called amygdala, while disgust has been identified with anterior insula. Similarly, anger has been identified with this frontal part of the brain called orbitofrontal cortex. And sadness is associated with this part of the brain called anterior cingulate. See, it's very also important to understand these parts of the brain also contribute to several very important functions of our body. The anterior cingulate is that part of the brain which actually regulates attentional processes. Similarly, frontal lobe is the one which is believed to be something which gave us that speciality compared to animals, what we call it as a character cortex, where all our special human characters, that power of discrimination is being regulated from this part of the brain. And you can also see like happiness, once again, rooted to some parts, while the pain is rooted through Apart from the anterior cingulate, the central processing unit, what you call it as the thalamo-hypothalamic areas, they regulate mainly the issue connected with your pain. What is also important is to know discrete emotion. Like, okay, so how do you actually pick up that which is needed for you, that which is not needed for you? How do I respond and how do I manage it? So these are the parts of the brain which regulate your discrete emotion. And also, this part is very important to bring in a regulation once the emotion is initiated. Okay, see, I am angry now and I keep shouting at everybody at home. And how do I stop doing it? So then this part of the brain, which is also called as the character cortex, as I said, it starts telling that, come on, you are a matured human being and you know everything in life. This is a mere simple issue. You don't need to react to this extent. So probably there are other sides you better understand. So this kind of discriminative power comes from there. Hence, it has been said that initiation of emotion is one part, but regulation of that subsequently is also very important. Behavioral adaptations also play a very important role when we really want to use our emotions positively. We always look at the all the frontal and central parts of the brain, but also the back of your brain, there is something called visual cortex, which plays an important role when a sensory modality has been used to actually initiate an emotional activity. So sensory inputs, particularly coming from visual input, has its impact on this part of the brain. So if everything is in the brain and if everything is in our mind and if everything is regulated as a cascade of events, how do we manage them? So here is the greatest contribution of India. The system of yoga, the great science and philosophy, which actually brings in amazing techniques to handle various aspects, including our emotions. So these are some of the research studies done, but I'm not going to talk of the research behind it, but I'm going to say, when you use different techniques, is there an evidence to suggest that those areas in the brain which are connected with your emotions can also be regulated and modified through different yoga practices. This one study published in 2011 in International Journal of Yoga showed that chanting Om produces limbic deactivation. So we know that a couple of times where there is an over-exaggerated activation of specific areas of your limbic system results in very strong negative emotions. So this has been demonstrated that when you chant Omkara, this produces similar effects as that of vagus nerve stimulation used as a modern treatment to manage depression and epilepsy. We use not just Omkara meditation, as Swamiji was mentioning, mantra is one of the amazing contributions what we have to regulate multiple issues. So when mantra meditation was done, it has shown to trigger global inhibition. Global here talking about the whole brain, multiple areas in the brain. We think that it actually stimulates. So this is an amazing study where it was demonstrated that it actually puts off many of these switches and puts on only those important switches which are needed in your brain for you to do meditation and to calm down. We also have seen several studies where asanas are used, pranayama is used along with meditation to bring in changes at different parts of your brain. So these two studies demonstrated that when asanas along with meditation, pranayama along with meditation also can influence those important areas like the hippocampus and also primary visual cortex, which are involved in emotional regulation. Is it only the functional entity of the brain which can be modified by yoga? No. There are a couple of studies which demonstrated that you can even change the structural entities of the brain. So this one particular study demonstrated that hippocampal dimensions can be significantly influenced. The size of a specific area of the brain can be enlarged if you are a male or female meditator. In this study, they have compared gender, but they have demonstrated that whether it is male or female, if you do meditation, if you do practice of yoga, it can actually influence your brain structure significantly. So as I was mentioning, so this particular study looked at comparison between the two genders, and also looked at meditators in comparison to control individuals who have not done meditation, demonstrating that the hippocampal dimensions were thicker in both these individuals. There were also other studies who have looked at when you practice meditation, so you can probably cultivate lots of positive emotions, and you can retain emotional stability and mindful behavior. Once again, it is not just a psychological study. They have looked at specific areas in the brain, and orbitofrontal and hippocampal areas have been shown to significantly get activated when you do, while other areas of the brain are inhibited. And many times we do either a directive meditation or non-directive meditation. There are hundreds of meditation techniques. We all get confused at times which techniques to pick and what is needed for me. So in the West, they try with all kinds of meditation techniques. So one called non-directive meditation, when they compared it with a concentrative type of meditation, also compared with regular rest, they saw that extensive activation of brain areas associated with those areas which regulate memory. Okay, so be it on the temporal lobe, be it on various other parts, also related to episodic memory, like the events, what happen either on a day-to-day basis, to convert them into a short-term memory to long-term memory, or when it happens over a period of time, do you really want to retain it for your better use subsequently? And this particular study also looked at reactivity to negative emotions. So if you are a yoga practitioner, the way you react to negative emotions was significantly different compared to non-yoga practitioners. So you can see there was reduced reactivity in specific areas of the brain for negative images when the people practiced yoga compared to non-practitioners. And lots of positive emotions, be it hope, faith, forgiveness, joy, compassion, etc., have been shown to increase when you practice yoga. And meditation also has been shown to activate brain areas involved with empathy, happiness, pleasant feelings, etc. We have this question, how long should I do meditation to attain some of these things? So there is no timeline for this. Do I need to do 1 day, 2 days, or 1 year, 2 years, etc.? This is one study where I looked at people practicing meditation for a little longer than 30 years. So very rarely you see long-term practitioners and its impact on the brain and your emotions. So this particular one demonstrated that those who practiced yoga for quite long time, they had an amazing control on the cardiorespiratory centers in the brainstem. And it also improved parasympathetic effects. See, we all know if you want to relax, you want to be away from stress, you actually need your sympathetic nervous system effect to be withdrawn and parasympathetic nervous system effect to be brought in. It sets in an amazing amount of relaxation to us. So it was also demonstrated that a single session of yoga, okay, if you ask this question, okay, I'm not able to do regularly, is practicing yoga any day going to have an impact? Yes. That doesn't mean that you don't continue practicing. you can have some benefits, like the inhibitory neurotransmitter called GABA increases when you do yoga, be it a single session. And when you increase your practice for a longer duration, similar effects were seen. That means you can sustain these effects when you do it for a longer period. So just few applications I wanted to quickly give you. You can use it in all age groups. You can use it in multiple health conditions where emotions are disturbed. So you can improve your concentration, efficiency, interpersonal relationships, etc. And you can reduce tension and fatigue. You can improve also a range of other activities related to hyperactive nature of an individual. We have these two as the major issues today, anxiety and depression. So practicing yoga has demonstrated that you can actually manage your anxiety very well. You can prevent depression. And they have also demonstrated through measuring specific hormones and chemicals in the body, like stress hormone, cortisol. And it has also been shown to improve mood, attention, mental focus, etc. Children also would have lots of emotional upsurges. So children and middle-aged adolescents certainly need yoga, because today we are putting them on hyper demanding situations. Like everybody wants their children to be scoring very high, and studies have become a punishment. So if you give yoga to them, probably they can handle their pressure much better. And there are lots of other things mentioned over here related to anxiety. Even during COVID, we all experienced, not just the children, but the school employees. The teachers have demonstrated lots of issues, and yoga has been very beneficial to them. Also, those who were frontline workers, and they had lots of anxiety and stress, and yoga was given to these individuals. And this is an earlier paper, what I'm talking, but we have done lots of other studies to demonstrate. Another situation where emotional upsurges are really bad and you have to take care is during pregnancy. So women go through lots of anxious moments, and practicing yoga in pregnant women has been shown to be highly beneficial in managing several of them. So this is just out of the box utility of yoga in armed forces, because we always think all those who are in normal situations, we have emotions and we have problems, but they have much serious issues, and yoga has demonstrated. This is one very interesting situation where professionals, okay, like they are known to have something called performance-related anxiety. So one special study demonstrated that yoga and meditation can reduce this performance-related anxiety as well. And of course, in family caregivers. Just I'm summing up with few practices, those who are interested, because we always see that, yes, theory is very important, but what should I do to manage? There are several things, but very few things I'm going to share with you. One module is to use the conventional yoga, either a combination of asana, pranayama, meditation, and relaxation. And if you ask me which asanas, which pranayama for emotional regulation, so it has been emphasized that you do those practices which are backward bending. Okay, so spinal backward stretch has been shown to have a stronger impact on the parasympathetic nervous system after you release the posture. So the combination of them, Padahastasana, Ardha Chakrasana, the forward bending was after that you do the backward bending, Ardha Chakrasana. Similarly, sitting posture, Shashankasana and Ustrasana. And in once again in lying down supine position, Pavana Muktasana and Setu Bandhasana. And in once again you do Simhasana, where it is said that you do this Simha, I mean the lion roaring sound, you should actually throw away all that which is constricting you. Okay, that emotional binding, what is there, is supposed to be thrown out through this practice. So this is just an indication for you. The first two Padasthasana is, then of course Shashankasana and Ustrasana, then Setubandhasana and Pavanamuktasana, and of course the Simhasana and the Shavasana part of it. Lots of pranayama and kriyas can also be used, very effective in emotional regulation. Kapalabhati, which has been made famous today with lots of utility, is shown to be very useful technique. But you have to take care when you have other comorbidities like hypertension, etc. And there is one unique solution, Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, alternate nostril breathing. Inhale from the left, exhale from right, inhale from right, exhale from left. So this is one round. So this practice, as slowly as possible, as long as you can do, is going to have an amazing impact on your emotional health. Another practice very well known is Ujjayi Pranayama. Ujjayi Pranayama, once again, is shown to have very good impact on anxiety. And resonance breathing, particularly Brahmari, has been shown to actually control your anger and set an amazing amount of calmness in you. And these are just the images for that. And the last part is meditation. You can select any meditation of your choice, but scientifically few studies have been done on cyclic meditation, Om meditation, and mindfulness. So this is movement-based meditation technique, cyclic meditation, where you do cycles of stimulation followed by relaxation. When you do this based on Mandukya Upanishad, when you do that, it takes you to very deep level of relaxation. So one set of stimulation through an asana, and then you do a quick relaxation technique. Second set of stimulation, and then you do a set of deep relaxation. So when you do this, it actually takes you to very deep level of relaxation. And of course, in yoga, we believe if you want to really do emotional culture, Bhakti yoga is something which is followed for ages. Okay, so because that's where we bring in the concept of Tyaga and Seva, and also surrender. Our biggest problem, what we saw as ego and range of other factors, can be manipulated significantly through Bhakti yoga, because the feeling of surrender will come only once we start adopting them. In the West, they also use today Kirtan yoga, which is the other name for Bhakti yoga. And the three factors, prema, tyaga, and seva, these are those positive emotions which we want to see. And finally, we all know it very well. Emotions are temporary, but somehow we get carried away and we get stuck with it. If we don't let them go, those can permanently destroy us. The best way to manage them is move all these negative emotions, convert them into positive emotions, and yoga is one tool which can do that. So you convert, bring in these positive emotions, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, and once these emotions are there, be friendly with everyone, then you don't have those comparisons. Have that compassion, then you have lots of things to offer. Okay, so I respond to somebody, I actually there for somebody's need, and be joyful, because finally the joy what we get is not in the material what we take from outside, what we see from outside. Joy is always inside. One example, our founder Dr. Nagendra always says that imagine you are given a gulab jamun after a long time. So you thoroughly enjoy it. And immediately somebody offers you the second gulab jamun. The enjoyment quotient reduces. A third and fourth and fifth gulab jamun, then gradually you start feeling that I cannot eat any more gulab jamuns, and you start hating it. Okay, so the object objective way of having joy is short-lived, and the joy has to come from inside. And once you are actually caught with the external things, you will never enjoy that joy within you. And finally, to remain neutral. That's the sattvic nature, what we talk, balanced way of being. So nothing can affect me. When it is said so nicely that we all go through this process. Shitoshna Sukhadukkeshu Labo Labo Jaya Ajaya. So there are events in our life which test us each and every time. That individual who is balanced can handle any situation and also give a wonderful environment for all other people surrounding us. Saying that, I thank everyone for giving me this opportunity, and blessed by the presence of two spiritual masters today, Swamijis, and also the team of CeRIMed and IWSP. Thank you very much. Namaste.